Bernadet.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, you're talking to many people.
Yes.
You are here today because you are a student of mine from SmartBody SmartMind, and you've also done kind of our introduction to my professional training. We called it the beta. It was a beta testing module. You were in that. That's how we got to know each other through the online world, which was so much fun.
Yes.
Can you tell everyone here just a little bit about, your general, who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into your journey, your process around healing your nervous system.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I right now have finished up my fourth year studying with Irene. So actually, before SBSM,
Hmm.
I did your 21 day, and I did not do it in 21 days.
No.
And I just kind of had that on the loop for about a year. And then that moved me into Smart Body, Smart Mind. And so right now, I am just kind of absorbing, assimilating, kind of coming down from the new learning of your stuff and just kind of implementing it, and just kind of living it, feeling it. And then actually looking back on, oh my gosh, like how different do I feel? Do I see the world? What I'm seeing in others? It's a whole different life for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just even from last year to this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even before we started recording, we were talking about for this recording, I wanted you to test your Wi-Fi speed, your internet
Yeah,
speed.
yes, yes,
Do you want to share? I mean, it
I
seems
do.
so trivial, but it's
It
such an
really
important
does.
thing.
So
So,
my whole life was like the little trivials. So you had asked through email, here I'm going to send you a link. Test this link to test the speed of your computer. If it's this number, then that. If this number, then that. I'm going great. So I clicked the link, and it was just this information coming at me. I didn't know how to read it or understand it. Just it almost looks like a speedometer in your
yeah.
car.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
exactly.
track all that stuff. Well, I did it, but at the time, I was so aware of going, oh my gosh, this would have completely shut me down last year. I would have not been able to go through it. I would have just said, thanks, but no thanks, because my mind would have just absolutely blown up. It just would have been overloaded and short circuited, and I just would have totally checked out and then been really disappointed and angry, that,
Mhm.
oh my God, I can't even participate in something just so little as that.
Yeah.
So when I went through those steps, I'm like, yeah, the same high speed situation is coming at me, but yet I'm not being swallowed up by it. I'm able to go through it and handle it. And it's what has come up for me the most is your words about building capacity. Honestly, I feel like that's what I have been doing in real time this whole past year.
Mm-hmm.
Just building the capacity every single day. Just really stuffing it into my cells.
I love it.
And yeah, I mean, we say it's just a trivial thing, but to be stopped by trivial things so much in life where you just are like not even
Yeah.
living it,
Yeah.
that was just a hopeless feeling. So
Yeah.
yeah, that I think that's funny how that happened
Yeah. I
with
love it.
you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel
Yay.
like it's on my report card. I did good.
It's well, and for those new here or not new here, like this is classic cognitive function enhancement, processing, central processing of your brain and to do a task. And as you've learned, and we'll get into this, and you work with kids now, and I really want to get into that, is when we aren't taught from a young age how to take in information at a pace that is for us, maybe a little stimulus, like we get overwhelmed. It can become dysregulating to be thrown information at us so quickly, say in school, which occurs. And that can create a massive, we could say, trigger for future when we're given information. And what I've seen in my students, obviously yourself and your peers, is one of the reasons people stop the work is they do need to go through this technology boundary. And we try to make our program sites as simple and as clean as possible, but there's still so much information there, and that in itself can be something that stops people. And so what I want to really highlight is, even though you've just figured out this capacity thing, you still were able to go through Smart Body, Smart Mind and go slow. And as you said, 21 days. How did that happen for you? Like, do you remember times where you just wanted to chuck your computer across the room, or did you find a way to get into the work knowing that those things can sometimes shut you down?
I don't think early on I was aware that, oh, this is shutting me down. What I was doing is just, and I might have mentioned this before, I just jumped on the Irene Lyon boat. And the first round of Smart Body, Smart Mind, I think I was so completely checked out that I'm just like showing up. Other
Good.
people were
Okay.
paddling, and I'm in
Got
this
it.
boat, right? But stuff was sinking in.
Great.
Um, Enough to where something inside said, I want more of this.
Yeah.
Right. So then the next time I show up, not only I'm just in the boat, but I'm like, oh, I'm seeing people paddling, kind of making some markers like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're in the ocean here. Irene's talking. Right. So it was clicking a little bit more. I felt a little bit more online,
Yep.
not 100%. Third time, I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I'll just hold a row. I might want to just hold a paddle.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to be responsible for the movement yet.
Yeah. I
I just
love
want
the
to see what it,
analogy. So
yeah, I
good.
want to see what it feels like, right? And again, it's just the excitement was building inside, going, I know there's something here for me in this. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. Terminology was exciting to me. Right? I mean, I was excited about taking notes and then going back and then pertaining it to, my life and different experiences and stuff. But I really felt by 4, and I'm sure there'll be more, that I was a willing
Right.
participant.
Right.
Okay, I got this. I got it. And I was really feeling a sort of connection more in body, not just as an observer, but an actual, boy, I'm really in it. I'm
Yeah.
living it. I feel it. I feel something. I'm feeling something, right?
Yeah.
And even though it might have been a lot of tears, a lot of regret and sadness, like, oh my gosh, like so much of my life I missed out on, right? That's enough of a trigger to make you realize, man, I've stuffed that feeling just to get on with life, just to survive. But man, when you sit with that rawness of, this has cost me so much, that was hard. Feeling that regret,
Yeah.
that sadness, just that overwhelm of, boy, that really stunk.
Yeah.
All those years.
And I mean, I still consider you young because I know we have students in their 80s, 70s whom are still doing the work. And you're right. There's two ways I see people do this, and they'll share it. They'll say, "Oh, it's too late. I've wasted 50 years of my life. I never had the kids I wanted. I never had the career I wanted," because we need to talk about your career. It's so good. There's no point. And then there's others that they take it differently and they go, "Wow, I've lost so much," just like you've said, but man, I still can live, even if it's for only another 5 years or 10 years, heck, 1 year. And what you just shared, I think, is so important because a lot of people going into this, they see the immense mountain that they need to climb. And this was an analogy I used in our beta program, if you can recall, the mountain scaling. Like, you can't do it in one day, it takes time. And that is almost something you have to sign up for. I love your boat analogy, by the way. That's clear that you're a natural born teacher to have that analogy. Love it.
Well, and the other thing I want to say too is, even up until this past, and I keep saying this year because
Yeah.
of how I started teaching this year, but before that, it was always, I had this me versus the nervous system, this naughty, unruly thing, this organ, this that is keeping me from my life. And if I could just do some steps or do some things, this thing would get in line, and then finally I could be, living how I want to live. So it was that fight.
Yeah.
I saw it as a separation. And then, like I said, this year, things just went, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's me, right? Me is the nervous system. I don't even have to refer to it as a nervous system. It's me. It is me feeling this or me feeling that, or, all of it. And so having that sense of connection come on board of a me
Yeah.
and not a me and a heart and a me and a brain and right, all these separate things.
Yeah.
It's me.
Me. I just want to share an observation because I've seen you multiple times over the last year and a bit because there were some alumni panels that we did.
Yes.
There was beta, and I saw you every week for, quite a few months. Your regulation has shifted so much. I know you can feel that, and you keep talking about this past year. So let's talk about this past
Okay.
year. And I do want to get even further back in your story, why you got into Smart Body, Smart Mind,
Sure.
because I know, or maybe we start with that. You choose. I know that you didn't get into this work thinking, wow, now I'm going to go to university and become a teacher or college. Or
Right.
did you? I'd be curious to know, was that your intent, or was it more my sense is it was more chronic conditions that you were looking to heal.
Right.
But why don't we start with that? What led you to this work? What was going on in your physiology? How many years ago? And when was it that you started? So we can date this, if
Well, I
you can.
remember in the beta module,
Yeah.
you had asked something to the effect of, if you could give one word,
Yes.
okay, if you could describe it in one word, what would it be? And I'm thinking, give it one word toward your nervous system story. Well, I thought about it. I thought, well, it had to start somewhere. And mine started in my mother's womb.
Yes.
And the word I chose was yuck, right? So it's a full feeling of,
Yeah.
and a word that comes with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So to quote, I can't even think of her name.
It's okay.
Anyway, she said, we are all victims of victims. Right? So this is just victim, 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 victim coming down the line. And I'm just next to show up in the line. And I am bathed in yuck. So from conception on, yucky is brewing all around me and inside of me. So if it's true that we are being programmed from 0 to 5 or 0 to 4, then yuck was being programmed.
Yeah.
How I feel about myself, how I feel about the world. It's yuck. Okay, so now when you're outside of mama and you're being held by, it just reinforces that.
Yeah.
And then when you live in a house where it is World War III happening on so many different fronts, so instantly what's coming on is the fight, flight, all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay? So now that is wired, the hypervigilance and desperation, misery, right? And you block out anything that's good because you are only one track mind, and that is to survive and get out of this.
Yep.
So when I was 18, when I left, I thought, there is no life for me unless I heal this. And I didn't even know what that meant.
But you knew. That's fascinating. Love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I graduated high school in 87. So all of this talk that is so around us now was not talk around us. We just,
No.
you had to really dig it out.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And that was me, going to the library at the time,
I love it.
finding any book I could on anything that would help me want to be alive. right? What's the reason to be alive? So I tried college then, and I was in and out in one class here and a few classes there, and part-time, full-time, student loans, um, crumbling. Just my foundation was not there. Life was not well for me, and it's as if every step I took in life, I would fall into a hole. I'm in a hole, I get up, in a hole, in a hole, in a hole. I could not get anything to work out.
Right.
My mind was not clear. My emotions were out of line. I mean, everything was just awful. And so I was just like crawling on my hands and knees, finding anything I could just to figure out a way to be alive and live and
Yeah.
survive. Honestly, it was to survive. It wasn't about finding a passion or what makes you feel fulfilled. I just
Pure survival.
pure survival. So
Yeah.
you're pure survivaling it
Yes.
forever. And college was just doing a lot of bad things to me mentally because I can't keep up at this rate.
Right.
I did well in some classes, but so I just kind of put that to the side. And then in my 20s, I became a massage therapist.
Okay. I didn't know
Healing, yeah. Well, healing was really like I wanted to heal.
Yeah.
Healing, it was all about healing, right? So
Yeah.
as I was doing that, I was being healed myself. Like there's so much in that exchange, the body work. And then through that body work, there was like, this seminar and that. And so I just kept building this toolbox of wonderful things to help me.
Yeah.
And then in my 30s, I was teaching yoga. So I moved from doing massage to then teaching massage. So I always had teacher in me.
Yeah.
And I would just find these ways to teach.
Yeah.
I would get information and I would pour it out. That was just kind of it for me. But to see myself absolutely like being responsible for a classroom of kids, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So life goes on. Then it wasn't really until, I don't know, before you, there was Peter Levine.
Sure.
And Gabor Mate. So I'm finding those people. And that was really what kind of turned the dial even more of, it is truly something off with me, like my system. I'm not engaging in life because of like a systematic thing. There's something not connecting.
Yeah.
And there really is no vitamin or energy drink or
If only.
right.
Yeah.
It is sitting with your crap. And that is so hard because sitting with your crap means feeling those things that weren't even yours to begin with
Yeah.
in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And you've got shame stuff. There was abuse, right? So you've got that. You've got identity stuff of, I don't even know who I am. I only know a crazy world. I only know how to be totally terrified. I know how to feel helpless and hopeless. Like I know all the negatives. I don't really know how to feel successful.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel really that sense of a full functioning, healthy person. But you know what? I was working. I was, paying rent. I mean, I was doing. I bought a car.
Yeah.
So I'm doing those things, but totally disconnected
Yeah.
from life, from me.
That's where that functional freeze concept comes in,
100%.
right? Like you had the power, the willpower really to go down the path of work and service, even though you had all this survival stress. Some go down the path and it's not as good as we know. That's where serious addiction comes in, crime, violence, repeating the cycle. So your story is, in my opinion, more common than the other, only because if the other was more common, the world would be an absolute disaster,
Right.
right?
And honestly, I don't like the taste of alcohol. If I
There you go.
liked the taste of alcohol, I probably would have been an alcoholic.
There you go. Isn't that
That I
interesting? Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what's the difference? I just didn't
Yeah.
like the taste and I could never
Yeah.
force myself to just drink it.
Yeah. I have a best friend who, bless her, she's fully in the healing world and became a massage therapist at like age 16. It's a long story, but there was dysfunction in the family and she never got into hard drugs. And she said, it's a good thing I didn't because I would have been an absolute amazing junkie. And I'd probably be dead by now. And, and she can see it. She could see, this is where I would have gone if I hadn't have gone this route into the healing paths and gotten into all the spirituality and meditation and herbs and
Yep.
homeopathy and so when you said that, I'm like, that is so fascinating. All right, please continue. So you're at this point, is this like your 30s ish now?
30s, 40s, and now
Yeah.
moving in. I just turned 55 last month.
Happy
And
birthday.
thank you. And what's interesting is between 50 and 55, you're in this feeling of, oh, where am I? Am I 50? Am I, you're just not really sure. But 55, that hits you. It's like, whoa, okay, here we go. You are 55, right? Like it just is such an awakening of, oh my gosh, you're thinking 10 years till retirement. Oh my gosh, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a real eye opener. But in the past 5 years of working with you and just actually doing the work and stuff, um, I don't have the fear of the future like I used to.
Yes. Thank you.
And there really is no reason for it. It's even worse out there than it used to be. But I don't have that buzzing of fright all the time in me. And that is a great, if nothing else happens, that's a great place to be in life.
I'm glad you shared that, because I have an odd calmness around my death,
Right.
and I know that I'm not going to be gone soon. The psychics have said, if we want to believe them, he will be here for a very long time. I'm like, okay, I better pace myself. But
Right.
it drives my husband a little crazy because I fly a lot, and I don't have a fear of flying. I don't have a fear of getting in a car. Of course, we know flying is really safe, but there is this element when I'm up there. It's like, if I didn't come down, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I've done enough. Seth will be really sad, but he'll be okay. And there's kind of this interesting, whereas I know there's so many in my circle, not so much anymore, but there's just this fear of getting older. And there is something about when you're in your nervous system and regulated, it kind of shifts the gear a bit to how you see future and present and past.
It does. It really does. And I'm glad you brought up the flying because
Yeah.
since last year I've taken a couple of trips and
Yeah.
I was always so fearful and panicked, like hyperventilating on like just
Sure.
grabbing the seats and all that stuff. Now, it nobody really enjoys the bouncy and all that stuff
No.
anyway, but mine was this claustrophobic feeling.
Hmm.
I mean it was just so much, right? Well, I've taken a couple of flights and nothing has changed other than my perception. So I'm going right into it. I'm just saying, I'm here. I'm going to feel everything.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What have you got to lose? And because of that, it's really dissipated that feeling. And I'm not trying to grin and bear it like I used to, even up
Yeah.
until a year ago. Like, okay, power through it. I can do it. I've got all the tools. I can ground my feet, breathe, whatever. No, I'm just letting go, having those feelings rise up, and going, okay. Because that's so different from shutting the feelings down from 0 to 18 or 0 to 30,
Yeah.
right? So it's a
Yeah.
different feeling of shutting it down. I'm okay. I'm okay with whatever is coming up in my body now. I'm just okay with it. I wouldn't have been, and I wasn't. And you do a lot of work trying to keep those doors closed to not feel anything. But it's like, man, just feel it. I mean, really, just feel it. And like I said, I don't like the turbulence. I don't like the, oh my gosh. But I'm doing it now. I'm going with it. And this last time, it was just a week ago.
Mm.
We were flying back home, and I was actually I was forcing myself to laugh. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the weirdest feeling. We're in an airplane, and I'm going up and down. And instead of being so afraid, I'm like, because little kids behind me, they're laughing. I'm going, what am I missing?
I know.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's, why not just laugh?
The turbulence thing is interesting because yeah, I don't like it either. And Seth and I were caught in some horrific turbulence maybe 6 years ago, flying from Manila to Vancouver across the Pacific in January, which is not a good time. And it was so bad, Bernadette. The imagine this plane full of Filipinos. So everyone's Catholic, which is great, right? And it is so bad. People are praying out loud to
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And if you weren't buckled in, it was the kind of turbulence where you would have hit your head on the
Whoa.
ceiling. By the end of it, poor Seth, his shirt was drenched. I was definitely a little like, oh, are we like, what is going on? His son was with us, who was still a teenager at the time, and he's just fine. And he looks at his dad and he goes, you know, these things are built for this. Because he's that kind of kid that studies that stuff. He's like, the plane is fine. And it's like, yeah, the plane's fine. I'm not so sure I'm fine. It took me a few years to recover from that.
Oh, wow.
It still has taken, he still gets a little hyped up on survival stress, and it's because his early upbringing was more like yours, with just abuse and violence in the house. And but what I do now, here's a little trick. I grew up on a lot of 4x4 roads and trucks, just like bouncing up, Forest Service roads. And so now when the turbulence starts, I imagine I'm in a truck in a beautiful like scape just bouncing. I'm like, it's no different. If anything, the plane is safer than being in that truck on an
Right.
off road where you don't know what could happen, all these sorts of things. So
That's
there are,
good.
yeah, there are students of ours and your peers who have said, I finally can now go visit this person, or I can go do that because they knew the terror and the
Yes.
sensory processes. And so you just avoid it. Just like a lot
Yes.
of people avoid exercise because they feel terrible and they feel the panic, which isn't true. It's just the heart rate going up, but it's attached to that fear response. So you're not the first that has said, I've been able to get into a car to go on a road trip, a bus, a train, a plane, a boat. And it's wonderful because it allows us to live and do the things that we
Exactly.
want to do.
To participate.
Totally. Okay, so how did you shift then your gears to get to the point now where you're doing what you're doing?
Well, what's funny is the last 3 times I signed up for SmartBody SmartMind,
Yeah,
I was also going through the process of trying to apply to be a substitute teacher.
right.
It was a dream of mine. Okay. And so I was, again, struck with that, overwhelmed of the process of building the resume. And I mean, my brain was just constantly shutting down. Now I'm doing your work, trying to do this at the same time, thinking every year, oh, this will be better. And it wasn't, right? But I was getting better at it. I just didn't realize it. So, I tried the steps again, open the computer, start the process, da 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 da. And it just wasn't happening. And then the frustration. But I'll tell you what, because of the work I did with you, this past August, when it was actually last July, when I'm signing up for it, it just went smoother. There was still, little blocks that I had to deal
Yeah.
with, but I wasn't caving under the pressure of it.
Yes.
So I'm like, whew, that was kind of fun. So that went through, I got accepted, and there's a whole process that you have to do, and then you get an alert on your phone with some different options of schools, and you can either say yes or no. So when I got the first text saying, this particular school needs you, I was so excited. I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm just going to dive in. So I did it, and I really didn't know anything. So I showed up to the school, and you are fully on. You don't know where to park, what door you go into. I mean, everything is new. And so you're learning quickly. So you go in, you sign in, they point you in the direction of the room, and there's some information laid out from the teacher, the lesson plan for the day. And you have a half hour, and I usually get there earlier than that, to read this, make sense of it, figure out where everything is in the room, and get ready.
Wow.
So, not being really fully, in
Yeah.
my body and able to handle stuff, it was just full go. The first day that I taught, it was all the bells and alarms going off, and it was everything I could do to not run out of there screaming. Because it was the door was needing to be closed, there was no window. So that was my first
Wow.
oh boy, am I going to have a panic attack?
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so I'm looking at the classroom. I'm trying to figure out what books she's referring to, what little tables they're at. I mean, all of these things. And so now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, can I even do this? Like, I'm freaking out. And then the lessons. Okay, oh yeah, and then we're on chapter 12 of this. So I'm kind of trying to scan that going, oh my gosh, I have no idea what they're talking about. Right?
What grade is this? Just
I was doing kindergarten first, second, third, fourth, but mostly kindergarten first is where I was really catching my stride.
so cute. Yeah.
So, but everything was new. The vocabulary of the teaching world was so new. And so I'm just trying to, make it through in the morning, and you're ready to go to greet the kids. And so it is just, boom, here they are. Here's 25 of them, right? And then they have all this energy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I loved it so much.
That's so
I
good.
loved every minute of it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And it is awful at the same time. Because I was so aware of all of this nervous system work, I was able to go, oh, I know exactly what you're going through, and you, and you, and you. I know what's being triggered in you. I can see it in you. So you are really watching it in real time. Something as simple as if I were to give an assignment, and I see kids shutting down, crying, being distracted. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom now. Oh, my stomach hurts, right? So you're watching that. They don't know how to say, I don't understand this.
Yes.
Or this hurts my brain, or help me. Right? And so it was just watching these kids and having an opportunity to go, I'll help you. It's okay.
Oh, so good.
No big deal. And I was only there for the 8 hours.
Yeah.
The teacher has them the rest of the time. Now, there
Right.
were some schools that I would do repeat because I was building relationships and they liked my work and all that stuff. And so I would, go to classes several times and really just love the interaction. What was so interesting to see is you have these kindergartners, in one particular case, expressing themselves.
Yeah.
One little boy would sit there and do this to me. Now, just picture a few fingers missing. Right? He was flipping me off. He would just sit there and sit like. So you're trying not to laugh. You're going, oh my God, it's a 5-year-old hand flipping me off. But he would just sit there and do this to me all day. I'm like, what?
That's kind of cute in a strange way.
Cute in a strange way, but yet he is really communicating something. Number one, he learned that somewhere.
Of course.
And he is getting it out of himself. Right? So to go over and say, naughty, naughty, well, that's not the answer. Right? I've had little kindergartners use the actual F word on me. F you.
Oh my God.
And so you can see a bigger picture of
Yeah.
what's happening at home, mom and
Yeah.
dad.
Oh gosh.
So when I go outside to greet the kids, it means they're being dropped off either on a bus, or parents are bringing them, and it's just this scramble inside. And it's like, rush, go into,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And now they're, okay, hurry up, sit down. Let's do some work.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da, right? And what I have noticed about myself is because I grew up very much compliance minded.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
better
had to.
comply. And then in school, it's all about, better comply. That was a real tug of war for me initially because I'm thinking internally, I'm like, these kids should be sitting still and doing the work, right? I mean, shouldn't there just be, they should pay attention and no, that is not happening. And so because of this work, I'm able to see a bigger picture of why it's not happening
Yeah.
and kind of hone in on some of those needs. I've had kids take their stuff and throw it. So there's chaos erupting in the classroom.
Yeah.
There is so much noise. There is so much teachers coming in, grabbing these students, students leaving. Just so the whole room is just a circus during the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get information out there, but you're dealing with so much other stuff. And yeah, it's a real interesting place, the classroom.
And especially at that age when there's no filter on them, right? They haven't learned, especially at kindergarten, grade 1, they haven't gotten their little personalities that know how to keep it calm if they have to. It's just,
Right. But what's interesting about that, I'll be standing teaching a lesson, and kindergarten, first graders, they will get out of their seat, come, and they'll just hug me,
oh,
right?
yeah.
Or they'll come and they'll stand by me, or they'll come and grab my hand. They didn't ask to do that. Something in them said, I need to get to her to feel something, right? So it's like they instinctively know, I got to calm myself down.
Yeah.
They're asking for help, and I'm
Yeah.
so happy that they would just do it. They just felt okay to stand up and just, and then sometimes it's like little zombies. They would just come and come and come. You're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Well, they're sensing your regulation and they're looking for that co-regulation. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Right.
And you can offer that because you understand
Yes.
what the heck is going on. And I mean, when you talked about the kid who was flipping you off with his hand, I mean, I love it, but it's like, oh dear. I mean, in my dad's era, for example, and this would have even happened if I was in grade 1, you'd be hit.
Oh, for sure.
You'd be hit, you'd be sent to the corner. In grade 1, gosh, it was terrible. I only reflected on this recently. I was in the nurse's office often with a tummy ache. So, because she was horrific. She made us build this structure with boxes, and it was like a fort. But what did she do with it? She put us in there when we were misbehaving.
Oh my God. It's so messed up.
And my dad has stories of being, in elementary school, and I think this the story went, there was one kid in the class who was definitely brain damaged from birth or something like that, but still able to walk and be there, but he was slow. And he would get into trouble, and they would put, I don't know the right term, but is it a dunce hat?
A dunce?
Dunce.
Dunce cap?
And put him in the corner.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. I mean, so you hear these stories, and then I hear your story, and it's like, we have come a long way,
Yeah.
but then the kids are suffering because of the dysregulation in the household that has built up due to the generational trauma. Your example of being passed on.
Right.
Some people are like, why are kids more misbehaved now? I mean, there's a lot of reasons, toxins in our food and water and all that stuff, but they're saturated. They're oversaturated
Oh, yes.
with generations and generations of no one healing their stuff. And it's right there in front of us now in ways that I think we've never seen before.
I agree 100%. You see some heartbreaking stuff, and you see parents that are really trying, right? So you can see all kinds of things. One situation happened that it just really broke my heart. Most teachers will have like a basket full of snacks.
Okay.
So if during the day, a child doesn't have a snack in their lunchbox, the teacher will say, okay, here's a snack. And then they offer it for like kindergarten, mostly for kindergarten. They can have a snack when they're leaving the school. So we line them up, and if they want to take a snack, they can. Well, a little boy, he was scrambling, he was trying to open his snack, right? And I said, "Oh, honey, well, you can just, save that for the ride home. We got to get outside, right? Because everything is like, moving fast." He was so panicked about this. I'm like, "It's okay." And he said, "No, he won't let me eat in the car."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, honey, who won't let you eat?"
Dad.
And he said, and it's the name of a ride share. It's not Uber, but it was the name of a ride share.
Oh.
I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, he won't let me eat in the car, so I want to eat my snack now." So I asked him again, I said, "No, who do you go home with?" He and his brother go home in this ride share
Stranger.
with a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, "Oh, yeah." So I'm helping open the snack. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, let's have you eat it." But I'm like,
Poor
a
thing.
5-year-old
Yeah.
having that kind of stress.
Yeah.
He gets in the car with it. I mean, it's just, there's
Yeah.
so much happening out there.
Yeah.
And you can miss it.
Yeah.
You know, had I not, if I didn't ask those questions like, "Wait, who's going to be mad?" and just send him out the door, I mean, then the kid's living with that all through the night. He didn't get a snack, and now he's, freaking out in the car. I mean, just all of it. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. You took that moment to connect and hear the story, right? Because at that age, they can't think, I'll just keep this in my bag and eat it when I get home.
right.
They don't have the ability to see that future. It's in the moment.
Exactly.
I'm hungry. I need to eat this snack. Can't do that in the next 5 minutes.
Right. I really made it a point to make sure I was taking care of me as
Yeah.
far as asking other teachers for help. For example, I mean, I've learned enough now that I am not going to wait to go to the bathroom. So I've been better about, "Hey, could you watch my class? I need to."
Yeah.
And I'd run to the bathroom really quick, right?
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, because I would have held it, right, all day and
Of
be like,
course.
"Oh." But now I'm really opening myself up to asking for help from different teachers, right? So I've learned, like, it's okay. It's not like you have to be perfect at this. Just live, be real.
Mm-hmm.
And in December, I lost my sister to cancer. She was suffering for over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awful. I mean,
Yeah.
grief is a terrible thing. It's just awful. So I would find myself relying on others because I was not going to stuff that.
No.
And I didn't care what time of day that was hitting me.
Yeah.
I was knocking on the door next door.
Mm.
"Hey, I need a minute." And they knew. They would
Mm.
come watch the kids, and I would just step out, and I would get rid of that initial, "Ugh,"
Yeah. Grief.
because I knew what it would do to me if I just kept, stuffing it again. I didn't want that.
Good for you.
Yeah, so like this year was a big, powerful year of like learning and actually putting those things into practice
Mm-hmm.
because it is kind of risky. They don't know me. Um, and I could feel, if I wanted to, feel judged by him. Boy, she can't hold it, for the bathroom, or she needs to step outside and cry because, she's
Yeah.
grieving. But I didn't care. I don't like this in me.
No. Well, you have done too much work on your nervous system, my dear. So
Yeah.
you can't disrespect it.
Yeah.
It has to be listened to, but it's tempered. It's not like, okay, I'm going to leave for the whole day. You're releasing the stress, the emotion, the grief in the case, with the loss of your sister in little bits, as
Right.
opposed to you hold it in all day long, you get home, and then you have to collapse because you've held all that energy inside,
Right.
right? Or you get mad at someone else when you get home because you've had to keep it in and keep it in, which is the common theme. And then things become disastrous because we don't,
Exactly.
right?
And I want to share a fun little story.
Yeah.
During the school year, we have fire drills.
Okay.
Well, I was with a kindergarten class who have never gone through a fire drill before, so this was going to be new. So I'm preparing them. It's going to be a loud noise, right? But that's
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right? So just kind of preparing of what's going to happen. We're going to go out that door, eyes on me, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I did say, if you need to hold someone's hand, or if you want to touch someone's shoulder, you can do that, right? Well, they're already worked up enough. But then when that loud noise hits, they are like, And then it takes me a minute. It's like, oh my God, that is so loud.
Yeah.
So when I let him out, I'm like, it's okay, eyes on me, here we go. We're going outside. And we finally take the last step outside, and it starts pouring rain. And I thought, boy, this is really a fun moment. So when they called it off and we go back inside, and I wanted to do some debriefing with them, how was that? That was scary. Oh boy, what'd you think? All that stuff. We were all soaking wet. And I thought, I want to etch into their little nervous system memories that this could be fun too. So I'm like, you guys, let's go into the bathroom. There's one bathroom in this classroom. Like, go look in the mirror. Look at your hair. We have crazy hair.
Aw.
So they all went in there and they're laughing and, oh, we have crazy hair. Because I wanted it to flip for them.
Yeah.
That hopefully the next time they wouldn't be so, panicked. Because a lot of times you get done with the fire drill and then it's, okay, back to work. You don't talk about it. You don't let the kids wiggle it out, So I just thought that was really cute because they went into that laughter really quickly. Fear
Well,
than laughter. I'm like, okay, here we go.
there it is. What you just described is a perfect scenario of polyvagal theory in action, right? Like they're stressed, you were connected with them, but then you came back, they're high in their sympathetic charge, fight,
Yes.
flight. And rather than forcing them into cognitive thinking or lessons, I mean, kindergarten, grade one, not so academic, but
Right.
still, they have to focus, and that's
Right.
higher brain, and they're young. Instead of going right into the cognitive, you took them out of the sympathetic by social engagement and play. And then to be fancy in our lingo, I know you know it, it down regulates the system. You bring in that ventral vagal of the parasympathetic, goes to their heart, it calms them down. Therefore, that loud sound of the fire bell, not that that should cause PTSD. It's just a thing. It's a sound. It has attenuated that stress response. Because if they had stayed up in that survival and then been forced to sit down to study, there could be a situation where they hear that loud sound down the road and it brings them into excessive stress because they never came out of that stress
Oh,
response.
wow.
But this is the beauty is you wouldn't teach that to the students the way I just explained it to you because it would just not make any sense. You did an actionable behavior that brought them into social engagement and fun and play. They're looking at themselves, bringing on the eyes and all that. And it's just like beautiful. So
Oh,
good
that's
work,
super cool. That's awesome.
right? And I want to highlight that because parents will ask, can my kids do your course? How can, it's like, no, they can't. It's for adults. But when you as the adult have this information, because I can guarantee you, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't thinking about the polyvagal theory that day. No,
You know,
you were just doing naturally what you knew you had to do, just like a good first responder, police, fireman, ambulance driver. They know how to calm someone down when they're in distress. A good one will talk to them, make a joke, that kind of thing, and then that eases them. And it happens in real life naturally when we intuitively have that in our own system.
that's super cool.
I wanted to ask or bring up the story. The reason that the impetus for me to say let's have a chat is you had shared a story with us, with my support team, after a pretty intense incident in one of your classrooms. Do you mind telling this story?
Sure.
Because what it really highlights is how important it is for those working with kids, teachers, even parents to have done their own work so that they can handle really intense stuff, which happens.
So this particular school I was working at, I'd worked at many times in
Yeah.
different grades. So I
Yeah.
have really developed a relationship with the staff and, students over the year. Loved it. Well, I was teaching there on a Friday, and at the end of the day, there was this big energy. I could feel it. And the principal was coming into different rooms, saying there's going to be a big meeting. I was not to be a part of it. I'm a substitute, so a big meeting for the staff. So at 3:00, I leave for the day. Well, Monday, actually Sunday, I get a call, a text notifying if I can come to a particular class that I had taught before, first grade. Yeah, great, I'll be there. So I go in with my happy self on Monday. Hi everybody, did you have a great weekend, right? And getting my notes from the front office, and they had said, hey, the principal wants to talk to you before you go into the class. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm kind of realizing, wow, this whole place is feeling a little heavy.
Right.
So the principal did not really have time to talk to me. So another support staff said, you know what, she's busy. I'm just going to walk you to the classroom. I said, okay. So when we got to the classroom, she said, I'm not sure if you heard, but there was a death of one of the students. I said, oh my gosh, I was like, oh. I said, what happened? Who was it? Right? So I'm asking these questions, and they said, well, we're not allowed to say.
Right.
The police have not, given that information. Well, when they said that, I'm like, oh, this was probably a little more than someone got a boo-boo or sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right away, you're like, okay, now there's 20 minutes now before the kids come in. So what is happening here? So I really don't have any information other than a death took place in the classroom that I was going to be teaching. And I've known the kids, I've been there before. So I am like racking my brain, just thinking, oh my gosh, who is it? And so before I opened the door to have the kids come in for the day, two members of their counseling team came in and said, we're going to be with you in the class today. We just want to just kind of be here, We also want to be outside when the kids come into school, because if there's any talk from parents or, other students, we want to kind of, get rid of that talk. I said, okay, that's fine. So even though I'm as most regulated as I can possibly be in that moment, to have the counselors there, there's a different vibe.
Yeah, of course.
So the kids are lining up, and I'm greeting them. Hi, good morning. Come on in. Okay, here we go. And I'm bringing them in, and my heart is sinking just every time, right? Every time I'm greeting a student, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is, oh. So I'm doing the basic stuff. Okay, let's put our backpacks away. Let's get our work assignment away. And there's just that roaming in the room of these counselors, right? So on the one hand, I wanted to say, hey, you know what?
Is that helpful?
Let's maybe sit down,
Yeah.
because it just kind of amped up a vibe.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, some other teachers would kind of peer their heads in. So it just was that feeling, And at the time, I still did not know what had taken place. Yeah, that's all right. And I just had to do my work.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that I wasn't overriding any of my own jittery. I wanted to be present with it, even though I was really kind of grasping for straws of I don't know what this is about. I know it's serious, and I know I have to lead these other kids into the day with as much normalcy as I can. Well, it wasn't until I dismissed them for lunch that I found out it was actually a murder-suicide situation. So a parent and a first grader.
Yeah.
So that's super shocking. And I just wanted to go outside and wave my hands to the world saying, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
We are in trouble.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Yeah.
And so for the second half of the day, it's like knowing that information and then making the connection of which child it was,
Of course.
and just, you know, just feeling,
It's horrific.
knowing that these other first graders are missing their classmate. And you can feel that because this
Yeah.
was in March. So you've had this connection all the way up until then,
Yeah.
right? So somebody in your classroom is missing.
Yeah.
And it was awful. It was so sickening.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I don't know actually how I did it. I just kind of like kept going, just
Yeah.
not trying to distract, kids, but just kind of, I was really dialed into them that day, just,
Mm-hmm.
really making those
Did they know what
connections.
had happened?
What's that?
Did the other kids know the detail? I mean, at that age, it's hard to it's hard. There's a transition between 4 and 5 where you start to understand the world a bit better. So my sense is they had a little more understanding if they had known what had occurred, but it's still going to be tough.
Well, at that particular day,
Yeah.
there was no huge announcement made.
Right.
So there was not like an all school message going out yet.
Right.
So I believe they could sense something.
Of course.
But after that day is when announcements were starting to make the rounds. So if if someone had someone in an older class, maybe they heard. So
Right.
then by then the word was getting out. But
Right.
the school did call the next morning to say, hey, we just were wondering if you could be on standby. The teacher is not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, absolutely. I will be there if you need it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, it was a lot. It's just
Yeah.
the shock alone and just something so horrific. And then trying to understand, like, how do you do that to I mean, just nothing was really.
It's hard to comprehend it when one is regulated and has empathy. And I mean, unfortunately, we know this stuff happens all the time. It's just rarely talked about in this way.
Right.
And by all the time, I don't mean, all the time, but it happens. We
Right.
know this happens. The reason I wanted you to share this, because some people might be like, my God, Irene, why would you share this? It's because this stuff does happen. It's really shitty. It sucks. It's disgusting. It's horrific. You wonder, is there any hope for humanity? As you said, you walked outside and it was like, something is wrong. And the teacher that couldn't come in, I have no doubt they were obviously more connected to that class.
Oh, yes.
Right? They were with those kids every day for the whole school year. So I understand why, I'm assuming it's a she. I hate to assume, but probably a she. She was not able to work. And you, I think, Bernadette, were able to work. This is just my assumption based on knowing this work, because you've done your own work around the things you experienced that were horrific, abusive, intense, not fair. And you've been able to sit, like you said, feel this yuck. It doesn't make it easier, but it makes it possible for you to show up and be the support system in a time of crisis
Yes.
without shutting down.
Yes.
And that's something that, if there's any reason to do this work, if someone wants to be in service at a high level, these are the things that you have to hear and see. And you can't go off and medicate yourself afterwards to soothe. And I know enough people in first responder worlds, especially police, ambulance drivers, they struggle massively with addiction because they're seeing horrific things all day long. And I've talked to a first responder friend of mine, and he's like, he was doing actually the somatic experiencing training, and he said the way in which I show up at work is so different now because
Yes.
when I see a scene that is terrible, as terrible as you can think, rather than holding it all in, I will take a moment to scream,
Yes.
to feel the disgust, to say to, God or whomever, why. I get it out and then I do my job. And he said, I can guarantee you my colleagues aren't doing that. And that is why they are all drinking themselves to death at night, not to death, but numbing with all the things to cope with all the things that are stored inside of them. So I share that because this is a reason why it is important, I think, to do this work at this deeper level, is it allows you to show up for humanity in a completely different way.
And not be afraid of it. I already was afraid in my life,
Yeah.
and I'm tired of that energy.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. It is showing up in a way that says, I can handle this. I don't like it. I
No.
wish that I could change it, but I am not running. I'm right here. I'm going to stay firmly planted, and I will feel, just like you do, how awful this is. But I can now ride that wave, knowing that, oh, this is just a wave, and if I don't ride it, it will destroy me. I didn't want to do the wringing of the hands and, oh my gosh, kids, and the busy stuff. That's not helping anybody.
No.
That just actually intensifies that feeling in the room.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to feel how awful this was in the sense that you give, that yeah, when I feel it, then I can say, okay, I felt ya. Thank you. Now let's be the support staff,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Irene, honestly, I think we are headed for more terrible things that people will have a real difficult time with.
Yep.
And people do desperate things when they're feeling out of control, hopeless, scared. I mean, just the mere mention of what we just heard on the news last week of the stock market crashing.
Oh, I don't
Right
listen
away,
to the
people want to
news.
go store up on their gas and their toilet paper all over again. It's like, take a minute,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because you and I kind of grew up without social media and cell phones. If our cell phone died and social media, that would not matter to me because
No.
I've already lived a life without it.
Yes.
But there are some people that have become so accustomed to that for everything, their connection, their identity, all that stuff, that you take that away and they will be bottoming out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it shows how disconnected we are from self because we need these external pieces. And I do know people who will panic if they don't have their phone with them. And I know that that's because it has become a crutch, an addiction.
Yep.
I still love my phone. There's lots of fun stuff on
Absolutely.
it, right? I'm not gonna not have it and use it. But yeah, I did a video, gosh, it was maybe 3 years ago, on the importance of working with horror. We'll link that here.
Yeah. That'd be
So
a good one.
yeah. And I made that predicting what you just said. There's gonna be more stuff that we need to take in. What that is, I don't know, but there is a trend I've seen where if we're not able to focus on these horrific things, and it's not about being doomsday. That's sometimes people think, oh, it's just so negative. We got to be. It's like, yes, we need to be positive, but we also have to swallow
Yes.
the stuff that is gross in the world, because if we don't, not literally, but if we don't, we're gonna just be like ignorant to the
Right.
atrocities, things that just don't get enough attention. And so there is something about that collective need to just work on our own stuff as opposed to bypass it in the way that we've talked about, spiritual bypass, somatic bypass,
Right.
constantly being in a state of needing to always resource ourselves to positive things. Again, these are important.
Right.
Just like you help those kids resource after the fire drill with the funny faces and like there's a balance here. But it is one of the areas I have found that is trickiest to teach is, yeah, you gotta really feel the bad stuff,
Yeah.
and move through it. You don't want to get stuck in it. That's the other
Right.
thing. And I would say you have successfully moved out of that. And because of that, you can swallow the bitter medicine, but not
Yes.
be poisoned by it.
That's a really great analogy.
Is there anything else you want to share? We've kind of covered.
Well, I
Oh,
do want to share because I was
yeah.
gaining so much confidence in myself and
Yeah.
my cognitive ability this year.
Yes.
So I had already told you that I enrolled back in school. So I'm going through an accelerated process online.
Hmm.
And I finished 6 classes since June 1st.
Wow.
And I know I have a total of 22. I got my little countdown sheet
Yeah.
going. But honestly, every time I start a new class and I'm in it, I am so grateful and I'm so aware of going, oh my gosh, like I'm able to do this. Like there's such freedom. Now it's
Mm.
hard.
Yeah.
I'm still having to study
Yeah, of course.
and learn everything. Like, come on,
Yeah.
brain,
Yeah. Yeah.
And as you get older, it's like, come on, help me. But just to be able to go to school and really check this off the life goal box of just finishing, this is just my bachelor's, I just want to complete it, it's the monkey on my
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And to be in it, participating, it just feels amazing because I would not, again, I keep saying this, a year ago, like I would not have been able to do it, to see
Hmm.
it through. I would have quit because it just would have been way too much. And I am getting this feeling of I'm actually enjoying the learning process, right? I mean, it's I
Yes.
mean, you get to go
Yes.
back as if you were kindergarten, first grade and
Yes.
go, hey, this is not so bad, when you're not
Yes.
freaking out or living in
Yes.
survival, that you can be happy and enjoy a learning moment. So I'm just so excited about it, and I I just have a lot of gratitude and a lot of just thankfulness towards you because you have set something up that's so attainable and so easy to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And I love books. I love reading books.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if you would have written all this down in a book 5 years ago, I would have just like read it, da 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 da, do the steps because I was just kind of doing the steps. But you offer so much more. You offer a partnership in life, is what you offer,
Mm.
right? We're doing the two-step together.
I love it. Yeah.
It's like,
Love a good two-step.
um, yeah. I mean, you just do that with all of us, and you are really leading us together. And
Mm.
I'm changed. I am completely changed and happy and looking forward to a new school year, and I just have optimism now. I was always positive, but I really feel like from an
Yeah.
internal wellspring of
Yeah.
this optimism rising up.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great feedback on the book because that's been like on the back shelf for well, my back shelves have a lot of books, but
Right.
um, uh, I've been asked, and I have, I think, 3 publishers that are waiting for me,
Wow.
and I just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it because I've got other things going on. But I know that that'll occur, but I also know, having read many books
Right.
from my mentors, it's not enough to read a book
No.
and do some of the extra. It's just, it is not the same. You can't get a university degree by just reading a book. You have to have classes and practice and assignments and tests and,
Yes.
not that I test people in Smart Body, Smart Mind, but there is a test that is life.
Yeah.
You have to integrate this stuff. If you don't
You
integrate
do.
it, it's just information and practices. And what I've seen, because we're deep into this Smart Body, Smart Mind experiment, the benefits and the outcome when it is seen as a scholastic interaction, of practice and study and integration, I think is light years ahead of me giving someone a book and saying, look at my shiny book and how great I am. Just read it and you'll be fine. Because that's a lie. It would not be enough to read my
Right.
book to get to where you and your peers have come from.
Right. And what's so funny is I just did your drop in just a couple weeks ago, and you
Sure.
had us do the, okay, somebody's knocking and you turn to the right,
Yeah.
which direction do you turn, right? Well, you
Yeah.
had us do that over a year
Yeah.
ago when we did in the bay. So I
Yeah.
did it, faithfully with you, and I really thought I was in my body feeling it
Yeah.
over a year ago,
Yeah.
because I'm going, oh, it is tighter in my neck when I turn to the right, or tighter. When we did it for the drop in, I couldn't believe the difference. I thought I was going to puke my guts out. I was having a full body feeling this time versus kind of on, checked out, but oh, I'm tight in the neck. No, this was, oh no,
Internal.
you are feeling it. I mean, that's powerful that you're leading us when you are with us doing that, and we're doing it together. There's that safety with you that we can feel. Oh, I'm going out on my own now, but Irene's still here. I'm turning, I'm going to puke my guts out, right? But yet you're there, and you can't get that in a book if you don't know who you are and you haven't walked these steps. And yeah, you
Yeah.
can put that in a book, but to actually see the difference in your own life from one year to the next, it's crazy. It's really amazing. I was so amazed about how volatile. I'm like, "Oh, this is so bad for me on both sides. I'm ready to puke. What's going on?"
So this okay, so we're gonna have to go for a few more minutes here. So it's so good. So number one, I'll be sure to put that drop-in class. It was the last one, I think, in
Yeah.
July.
Hmm.
Yeah. We'll put that near here. Recently, I was interviewing one of your peers. His name is Mitch. He healed so much chronic illness, autoimmune, early trauma, all those things. And he was telling a story. It's such a good interview. It's worth watching if you haven't yet, where he's like, I'm out for a walk with my wife, and I get home and I landed on some early trauma pieces about my childhood, and I ran to the toilet and puked. And she's like, "Oh my God, honey, are you okay?" He's like, "This is great. This is great." And the way he says it, because he has a thick North Carolina accent, I'm like, "Oh, that's so beautiful." And so we went into the what was going on there, and what you just described about feeling nausea, but feeling more flow,
Yeah.
because that's what I saw even when you showed me now, comparing a year ago, is you are more whole. And
Yes.
there's more, the fancy word is the coupling dynamics are getting better. And when we do that, our viscera is coming online in a different way, connecting to our spine, our spinal cord, our movements, our head, peripheral nervous system. And it's like this slap across the face, but
Yeah.
internally. And it shows that things are lining up. And what I'm also going to suggest people do, putting you on the spot, Bernadette, even though you've been on the spot the last hour, is if people go back and watch your alumni panel share.
Mm.
Was there one or two? I know there's definitely one.
One, I thought.
If people really want to see, go and watch that. We'll try to timestamp it
Oh, okay.
because it's true. Your coherence in your body is night and day today compared to whenever we did that alumni panel and compared to when we were in beta. But that shows that all the preparatory work, all the building capacity you've been doing over the last 4 years has been in service of it all just gelling in this last year. And so when you told me about the drop-in that you just did and you felt it completely different, it's like if you think about a kid who's finally able to fully speak and read and communicate, it takes years and years and years from infancy, toddler, childhood, to them being able to fully be able to communicate without thinking about the words. It just happens. Just like we're speaking English right now without having to think about it.
Right.
And so when it comes to healing this nervous system of ours, and as you said at the beginning, it's like, it's me.
Yes.
this is a great example of the steps and the time and the commitment and the practice. But then when it occurs, it's like you've reached, it's not even a level, it's a wholeness
Right.
that has been wanted. It's been there. It just needed the
Yes.
right, it's like it just needed the right ingredients and the right learning.
Yes. Well, what's funny about that is last year when I did it, what did I do? I separated out and said, oh, my neck, this silly neck, maybe I need a massage, maybe I need a
Right.
chiropractor. That way I can do this
Turn.
easier,
Yeah.
right? Still disconnecting a little bit from, no, you're feeling sick about something. So this time at the drop-in class, I had that whole sense of, oh my gosh, something probably happened either this way or this way to make me feel like I'm going to puke, and I've never addressed that. And so I was feeling me. I was feeling me being sick, not a neck or a stomach thing. It right? So that you're
Yeah.
exactly right. I feel the meanness now. I haven't I'm stopped all the fragmenting of body parts.
Yes. Good work, my dear.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Um, I think we've covered a lot.
Yes, we have.
Um, Keep me informed with your progress and good luck with school.
Thank you
So
so
exciting.
much.
And I just want to say your future students and your current students, they will be blessed if they see you in a classroom and have you. People always ask me, Irene, how can we get this work into schools? Why can't we get this work into schools? And you're doing it.
Yes.
That's how it happens. It doesn't happen from the top down in the school system. It has to be from the interested teachers, the teacher aides, the assistants, the janitor, the
Yes.
principals, the people serving food. It comes with the individuals taking this for themselves, I believe. And then the people in the system start to see, oh, this one's a little different. And actually, one of your peers, Darla, she is one of your peers in SBSM. When this comes out, her interview will just have come out.
Oh,
She was, I think, maybe on one of the panels with you. I'm not
okay.
sure. But she's 65 and she has now got her art therapy degree. She never thought she could
Wow.
do it. And she's working with kids and helping them do art and process their stuff through art.
Amazing.
And so the fact that there's two of you that I know now and I've
That's
talked to, I'm
awesome. Way
like,
to go,
oh, it's
Irene.
well, and you two are examples where it's like you haven't given up. You're like, I can still go and do my dream
Yes.
at any age and make a massive difference in the lives of these little people. So I just want to clap and bow and say, keep doing it. It's
Thank
so
you.
good to hear.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just
Yeah.
so happy to see you and connect with you. And I just know that you're going to offer so much besides what we did, the beta. You've got
Yeah.
this new program.
Yeah.
But I think down the road, you're going to have just more of these little somethings popping up, you know.
We'll keep it going.
I hope so.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to us and all the information that I mentioned during the talk. We'll put it near here. And yeah, Smart Body, Smart Mind is coming up
Awesome.
soon.
Yes, I can't wait.
Okay. Thanks,
Thanks,
Bernadette.
Irene. Good to see you.
Bye.